Welcome everyone to Make Your Day Richer. I'm your host, Richard Wilmore, and today we're playing The Parent Trap. In order to play this, we need a contestant. I'd like you to meet our contestant today. Contestant, what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Darren Ault. I'm from Middletown, New Jersey.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a regional vice president for a flooring manufacturer, Shaw Industries. I work for their commercial division, Pat Craft.
And you're also an author.
I'm an author as well, yes. Just about a year and a half ago, put Out of Bounds.
Tell everybody about that book, because that's kind of why you're here.
Yes, of course. So I spent 33 years coaching youth basketball from various levels, college prep men to seventh and eighth grade boys to the bulk of it, 22 years with high school girls at the varsity level. And during that time, I began to notice more and more parental interference and increasing hostilities and, just involvement that you would never expect in a coach-player relationship. So I had a moment in my career that sort of ended my career, or at least left a bad taste in my mouth to go back to that career. So I decided to shift gears and write this book and share the story with people. So hopefully they can learn different signs, hold a mirror to themselves, maybe get something out of it that would keep them from becoming one of those parents.
And who is the book for? Or would it be for the parents? Would kids, like for the actual kids in the sports or not?
It's for everybody who's involved with youth sports,
Yeah.
because in my opinion, and I think it's pretty well documented over the last decade for sure, there's been an increased toxicity in youth sports driven by a lot of reasons, but I think coaches can get something out of this. I think players can get something out of it. I think parents can, certainly board of education, who at the end of the day are the ranking authority as to how to legislate or litigate any complaints that come along.
And where can they get the book?
They can get the book on pretty much any book outlet. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Ingram Spark is my particular publisher, and they do have it on their website as well.
Great. And the book is called Out of Bounds.
Yes.
Are you ready to play The Parent Trap?
I'm ready. Let's roll.
We're going to do 3 rounds, 4 scenarios in each round, and you can decide whether the scenario is fair play or penalty. And then you can expand on that if you'd like. And then in between each round, I have some questions for you, okay?
Okay, great.
All right. Scenario number one in round number 1. A parent hires a private hitting coach for their 8-year-old, but tells the team coach they just practiced in the backyard. Is that a fair play or a penalty?
I would call that a penalty.
Okay.
I think it's important in that relationship dynamics that the coach of the actual player, for the team or the school sport, understands what other influences are coming in, because you can absorb that and include it in your teaching. You might be able to communicate with that coach and kind of make sure you guys are on the same page, so as not to create conflict for the kid.
Yeah. I like that. Number 2, a parent records every game from the stands, not to keep as a memory, but to review the tape with the coach to argue about playing time. Is that fair play or a penalty?
Penalty box, out for the season. Listen, parents should absolutely record their children for, historical purposes, for family purposes, to enjoy, maybe even to watch with their child. And I'm not saying parents don't have a role in evaluation, but specifically to count playing time and question the coach, that's a no-no on any level.
Awful. That sounds awful. Yeah. All right. Number 3, a parent offers to donate new jerseys to the team, but only if their kid is named a starting captain. Is that fair play or a penalty?
Again, penalty box. There is no determination of a child's playing time other than their commitment and function in practice. That's what drives playing time.
All right. Final scenario in round 1. A student athlete complains about a coach's tone, and the parent immediately calls the school board president instead of the coach. Is that a fair play or penalty?
I have not heard of fair play yet, Richard. That's a penalty. Honestly, listen, the first relationship is with the coach. So go talk to the coach. And then what I always encourage, when all 3 of my kids played at various levels, including college, I would encourage them to go talk to the coach first, you as a player. And if you feel like you can't reach something or the coach isn't being fair, then we can go talk to the coach together. But yeah, start with the coach.
That's great advice. All right, that's the end of round 1. Are you ready for some questions?
Sure.
Okay. Out of Bounds is a true-to-life story. What was the specific moment or headline that made you realize this wasn't just a bad season, but a systematic failure that needed to be written down?
Yeah, my final year coaching at Homedale High School for the varsity girls here in New Jersey, which was my 22nd year, but fourth at Homedale, and really had the opportunity to build a new program. And we were just hitting our stride. You know, my first year of seniors, some really good talent in the underclass, including some good freshmen that would have the opportunity to play both JV and varsity through the rules of the state. And one of the freshmen on the JV team didn't like the fact that they were not being brought up to varsity as some of their peers were. And in all honesty and in transparency, and I shared this with their parents at the time too, she just wasn't quite ready. She'd had an injury that plagued her through fall and summer. You know, she needed to learn the plays a little bit more definitively so that she could create harmony in the way we play on the court and just footwork and intensity on defense. I mean, we were a defense first team. So all communicated, all shared. But that player decided to take a route, or I should say that player and their parents. I don't think it was, you know, her by herself. I would hope not anyway. Took a route to levy false accusations against me about inappropriate touching. And what made it more complicated and more frustrating is it wasn't about her. She accused me of inappropriately touching two of my varsity players, one of which was a senior captain and had been with me all 4 years. And the other was a sophomore, younger sister of a player I had coached previously. And both of their parents said, this is ridiculous. Not even true. Both of the players supported that. And in fact, all players and all parents, with the exception of the one family, argued on my behalf.
Wow. You've talked about getting steamrolled by false allegations. In your research, why is the school board off in the first place where the investigation process kind of breaks down?
Yeah, it was interesting. I learned a lot through this process. And number one, the principal and the athletic director, of course, just as we talked about before, like go to the coach first, right? Those administrators that are on the street, the principal and the athletic director should be the first stop. Unfortunately, the athletic director had just been with us for 2 weeks.
Mm,
So I'm sure he had no desire to be involved with something this meaty in his first 2 weeks. The principal had just started their second year and non-tenured, and somebody I knew and considered a friend at one point, but decided to punt this and not take a leadership role in it, which to me was the wrong thing to do because when you're a principal of the school, you are the leader of both student and faculty.
yeah.
So I went to the school board, and what I started to learn, because I wasn't getting any answers, I was completely in the dark for 40 days on this process, which ruined the season basically and any chance of coming back. But um, I started to research the school board's own rules around things like this, and I immediately found that they were not following any of them to
Wow.
any letter. You know, there was a 10-day process that was spelled out. This took 40. There was the if they couldn't find an answer or felt like there was some illegalities, they could consult the police department. They punted it right directly to the police department. You know, so I had to go in for an interview. All the kids went in for an interview for something that all the parents and all the players refuted. You know,
Mm,
there was just like the school board wanted nothing to do with this. And in all honesty, the school board had a interim director, and they had gaps in key spots where the policies would flow through. So nobody was taking the reins on this at all.
wow. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the like hidden emotional costs that people didn't see when you were going through this?
For me personally,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it was an everyday thing for me because, of course, I consider myself a person of integrity and honor, and that's the
Mhm.
way I function. A family man first. I coached all three of my kids, including two of my daughters. So I got to know their friends and their teammates very well throughout the course of those years. The boys and girls that I coached often considered them my own kids. How would I want another coach to teach or train my kids, right? How would I want them to be invested in that relationship? So I was very, very cognizant of what my interactions were with the kids. And they were always very positive. I mean, to this day, I have 41-year-old men, calling me coach.
Mhm.
So, but from the moment that the accusation came out, there was a lot of question around like, why, what drove this? What could they possibly be thinking? And my son, who was my assistant coach at the time and the JV coach, poured through the game video from the night before to just trying to isolate what is it that they're talking about, and couldn't find anything. So that there's that mental and emotional struggle there as to what would drive somebody to levy this horrid accusation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was, and then to not have any direction or real effective communication with the school board and the principal, it just drove me into this hole of questioning, like who's taking charge, who's supporting me, where is the opportunity to be heard, where's the due process that absolutely
Right.
does not exist at schools.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it has to be so isolating.
Yeah, it was an everyday thing
Yeah.
for a long while. I mean, it took me about 2 years really to kind of shake the cloud of this accusation, and no, I knew it was not accurate
Hmm.
by any stretch. And everybody in the basketball world around me, which there was a lot of people that were very very supportive. Other athletic directors, coaches, boys and girls, men and women who I'd coached in the years, people who didn't even know me but knew of me would
Hmm.
reach out, write letters to the board, do all kinds of supportive things. So that was really cool, but um, it wasn't enough to remove that stain, that
No.
that tarnishment.
Yikes. Wow. Are you ready for round two?
Yes, ready for round two.
Okay, a seamless way into round two. Scenario number one: a school board member's child gets benched for missing practice, and the board member calls an emergency meeting to discuss the athletic department's budget. Fair play
Uh,
or penalty?
Not uncommon, but it would be a penalty.
Yeah.
Anytime you try to leverage a position of authority to gain favor in any walk of life is not cool. But when you're
Mhm.
talking about kids and trying to teach them how to earn something as opposed to a sense of entitlement, that's not helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Number two: a coach requires all players to turn in their cell phones during away games to focus on team bonding. Is that fair play or a penalty?
I think it's fair. I think it's
Yeah.
fair in that case. Thank you for a fair play opportunity. No, I mean seriously, and I would have the girls bag their phones during practice, because
Mm.
even and then of course as we got the Apple Watch, they tried to sneak in those, but any kind of communication like that, you do want them engaged, you do want them focused and intent on what's being taught. Um, Game during the game in this particular scenario, the bus ride there, the bus ride home, you want them engaged with their teammates, building those bonds, and really you're the guardian at that point. So if there's anything that emergency that happens, you'd be the person reaching out or
Yeah.
saying, okay, get your phones, let your parents know, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to be so distracted by phones in any way. Like, but that's a great idea about even on the bus. Like, I never thought about that because in
Yeah.
my head it would be like, well, the bus is the perfect spot to be on your phone and but that's so smart. Yeah, that's a great idea. All right, second or the third one. A parent starts a private Facebook group for the team specifically to vent about the coach's strategy without the coach knowing.
That's horrible. And
Yeah.
it's so realistic, so realistic.
Wow.
Why would you do that? Why would you, again, without any communication to the coach, without any conversation with most coaches, if you come to them and approach them with respect and courtesy and are just curious about what it is your child can do to get better, we'll talk to you all day long.
Hmm.
The moment you turn it into why do they only get 2 minutes or how come this or how come that, that becomes a problem.
My dad was the coach of, I felt like, all the sports when I was growing up, cross country to basketball, and I I don't know, it seems so crazy that there would be all these, like, how much of this has changed over the years with all of the invention of social media and ways to communicate. I don't know. That's so crazy.
Yeah, when you think a bit about my personal history, most of it was volunteer. I
Yeah.
spent I
Yeah.
spent 16 years volunteering my time to basketball programs. It wasn't until I started coaching high school that I got this little stipend, and it
Hmm.
wasn't for the stipend that I wanted to coach. That was,
Yeah.
that meant nothing to me, in all
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah.
So the coaches are giving their time to help support and develop your child in this game, whatever game it is that they love or enjoy, right? And help them teach them the principles of not just a game, but of teamwork and of discipline and some structure. Um, why would you go down that path? Why would you
Yeah.
denigrate that? And you feel that they're doing a horrible job, pick up the whistle.
Yeah. By all
Go
means.
volunteer your time.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. It's easy to be a perfectionist from the sidelines. Our
Yep.
final scenario in this round: an administrator hears a rumor about a coach and suspends them pending investigation without ever speaking to the coach first.
That's a very personal and painful memory because that's
I bet.
exactly what happened. A rumor, no conversation with me. I was suspended immediately and indefinitely. And at no time until 29 days later did I ever talk to an administrator
Wow.
at the board level. The people who were handling this process, no time did they reach out to me, did they try to talk to me. If there was any engagement, it's because I initiated it.
That has to be so infuriating and embarrassing, and like so many emotions have to go into that entire process.
Yeah, all of the above, you know,
Oh,
and again, if there had not been the obviously my family was very supportive and that meant a lot throughout the whole process. Outside of them, if there had not been that extended basketball family, that community who really rallied to provide support to me and you know via text, via phone call, via email, even in comments that they were saying on Instagram or Twitter or any of these other you know social media sites, all in support, every single one of them, with the exception of one family. You know, if it hadn't been for that, I mean, I don't know what I would have done to be honest with. Yeah,
yeah. Wow. All right, that's the end of round two. I have a couple questions for you.
yeah.
Where is the line between a supportive parent who wants the best for their kids and a toxic parent who is trying to live maybe vicariously through them?
Boy, I don't know if there's a clearly defined one. I will say that easily 95% of the parents that I interacted with over that 33-year period were supportive.
Mm,
Um, I there were a couple times where supportive parents kind of did cross that line and became more argumentative or heated in defense or you know quote unquote defense of what they thought their child should have or deserve. But I would say those parents after a conversation that we would have together, and I write about some of them in the book, generally would kind of back up a little bit, let it marinate, and then realize, hey, they overreacted, or it wasn't what they perceived, or you know, their kids would even sometimes say, "Mom, why'd you go talk to coach? I'm
mm,
okay. I understand what coach is looking for." And it wasn't until my last year was my last year. No, it's my second to last year coaching at Homedale. And again, I write about this in the book where one of my rising star players, um, you know, she would play sometime at JV and sometime at varsity because she could. The state laws allowed her to do that for 5 total quarters, and I needed her to mature in certain parts of the game, so I kind of used her in both. Um, but in the varsity game, she didn't play as much in that game as she had in others. And but we won. We had a good game overall, and she was continuing to develop. So after the game, I see her mother on the other side of this basketball court, and as I'm walking back to the locker room, and this is somebody who I've had great conversations with, you know, and felt like I had a good relationship with. And her immediate reaction caught me off guard. It was like, "You don't think my daughter's that good?" I'm like, what are you talking about? Right? And then I realized that she was in a heated emotional state. I said, "I tell you what, let me go close the girls out here, and we'll talk about this later." "No, we won't." Okay. So I just went upstairs to talk to the girls, right? And
yeah.
after the locker scenario, I've never done this and all the time, but I pulled her daughter I said, aside and I said to her, "Do you and I have something we need to talk about?" And her immediate reaction was, "Did my mom say something to you?"
Mm,
And I said, "She did, but I listen, it's okay. I just want to know if there's something that we're not quite connected on. Like, how can we improve our communication?" And she said, "Coach, we do not have a problem." So uh, she dismisses. She goes, "The team's dismissed." I clear off the whiteboards for the for the next use. I go downstairs and I pass her mother and her engaged in a heated conversation, which basically the daughter banned her from games, which I don't think was the right result
oh
either, but
my
banned
God.
her from games for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit about how like that the toxicity in the parents is affecting the kids and ruining oftentimes what the sport that they're involved in?
Yeah, and there's a lot of layers to that onion. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be as simple during the car ride home after a game or after a practice. Children, young athletes are going to express feelings and emotions around whatever occurred in that practice or that game. Some are going to be very positive. Some are going to be not so good, right? They may not be confident or sure of themselves in that particular moment. Um, I think parents just need to be better listeners at
Mm,
times. You know, as is true of leadership in general, which parents are leaders, right? They're
yeah.
supposed to be leaders. Leadership in general does require a lot more listening. So I think that's part of it. not as reactive. I've even in my car ride on the way home with my kids after a game that I coach them on, and I'm with my wife. She becomes the sideline coach and starts telling them what they could do and couldn't do, and it's all meant out of love and
Right.
support. But you have somebody who just went through a battle, quote unquote, in a game, and maybe doesn't feel great about themselves, and now they're being told all the things they didn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
So that car ride can be very, very important. And I would encourage my parents historically, give your kids 24 hours. Give your coach 24 hours. Don't engage either in the heat of the moment, good, bad, or indifferent. Support
Mm.
them. Good game, great job, whatever, get them next time. And then let that 24 hours go through and then think about what that conversation should sound like. So that's one spot. The other spot, which I'm not privy to because I'm not there, but I can certainly hear the conversation, is at the dinner table or in the living room at that player's home. And where parents oftentimes will take that opportunity to speak negatively or support negative speak about the coach and the coaching staff, as opposed to writing a parallel line with them around, hey, we're both here, parent and coach, to support your development. So let's talk about what that looks like.
Yeah. Hmm. That's great. For round three, we're going to switch it up a little bit. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right, we're going to play a little lightning round. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to name 3 things in a couple categories.
All
And
right.
if you win, if you get 3 out of 5, our entire non-existent studio audience gets a copy of Out of Bounds. How about that?
Love that.
Yes, yes. All right. In 5 seconds, name 3 things a coach should never have to hear from a parent.
Why isn't my son playing? Why isn't my son starting? How come you kept the kids on the bus after the game?
Perfect. Yes, that's 1. Good. Name 3 signs that a school board is failing its staff.
Lack of transparency, lack of communication, lack of effective leadership.
Wow, that was a quick one. All right, could be for the win. Name 3 reasons why youth sports have become so volatile lately.
Influence of outside trainers, multiple outside trainers, money, both in AAU sponsorships and NIL, and then scholarships, people driving to a scholarship, which is a small percentage opportunity.
There you go. It took a little longer than 5 seconds, but it was worth it. Everybody in the audience gets a copy of Out of Bounds. Yay, they're clapping. Don't worry, they're clapping. Thank you for that. I want to do one final one because I think this is an important one. Name 3 words that describe a coach who actually stands for the truth.
Integrity, honor, communication.
Yeah. There you go. If a coach is listening or watching right now and it feels a toxic dynamic building in their program, what's the first tactic they should use to protect themselves?
I think they need to have a conversation with parents as a group. What I would often do is do that prior to our season starting. Parents and their players and the players, so their children, sitting in the same audience as I'm having conversation. And my staff is there as well, but having conversation with them around, hey, what you can expect from me as a coach and what I expect from you, your players, your son or daughter, and then just have conversation around those topics.
Mm.
Uh, you
What's
know,
the? Oh yeah,
I was just going to say, set the foundation, right? So then it's easier to kind of refer back to that.
that's so smart. What's the one thing you want a school board member to think about the next time an unverified complaint hits their desk?
If you're going to petition or run for an elected position, be willing, ready, and able to support all functions of that position. The first and foremost of which is leading the school district through anything, through any kind of good situation or bad. Don't run and hide.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Final question. Our
Mhm.
show is called Make Your Day Richer. In a world filled with power struggles and politics, what makes a community richer when it comes to how we treat our leaders and educators?
I think just seeking an honest connection with them. We anybody that we walk with in our life, from family to coworkers to players and coaches, you're not going to agree with everybody all the time.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there's an absence of harmony or that there can't be some level of connectivity. You got to seek those positive moments, right? I think too often people look for the wrong things or look for the bad things, or instead of the why, it's always the why not, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So seek that communication, be open, be honest, be ready to receive the feedback that you get. And in a player coach relationship, encourage your child to have that relationship with the coach as well. It shouldn't be through the parent, because when they get to college and beyond, parents aren't going to have much to say about anything,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and,
Yes.
you're trying, we collectively coaches of youth sports and parents of youth are trying to accomplish a lot of the same things,
Mhm.
recognize that.
What's the best way that people can connect with you out there in the world?
So I do have a website. It's run through Canva. It's not an official website. So darrenault.my.canva.site, SITE /author. And there's some more history on me there. And there's a link to all the book sources. And then of course there's a little, people want speaking engagements or just want to talk to me, they can connect to me through that.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for winning the game. And I think he's also autographing the books for everyone on the way out. So
Yes, I will.
Amazing. Darren, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Richard, for the platform and the time to talk. I appreciate it.
Of course, come back anytime.
Okay.
And thank you for watching. And I hope you come back next time as well. See you later.